do this, this is the one that we're talking about. So this is the ear set one. If you want to mark it, oh yeah, it's a different one. It's this other unit. So this is this unit. And so this is the one you want to only turn on when she picks it up. So it's this one here. Yeah, so notice I've already, here when you do this, it's silent, which is, yes, until she takes it. First one you'll recognize. Everything was changed. Nothing, thank you, stays the same. So it's that slow 16th Philly soul kind of thing.
Yeah, remember that.
And the last one we're going to swing some, so it'll sound like this.
I like that. I like that. Entrepreneurial.
A couple weeks ago, it was a little rough, and because he expected me to know about all of this, so just keep that in mind. If you have someone that you think for whatever reason you expect to know about this, he didn't know how to, and I don't know he didn't know how to find the.
Billy is not that guy ever. Okay, he's an acoustic piano guy that can handle an electric piano, but he is not an electronic genius.
He said, well, he told me that split the keyboard between strings and something else, but I can't figure out how to do that, so
I know the instruments, I know all the different synths, and I think like that. He doesn't think like that. He needs it set up for him.
And he said, well, is it a reggae beat that you have for I'm Good?
Well, it's just a funk beat here that I just found a beat, and there it is, But
and apparently it wasn't set. He said because this is what I'm finding, and it's not. I said sorry.
you sounded fine what you guys did, because I actually heard it, and so
Yeah, we did.
jumping into this gig is hard and simple and yet weird. You know what I mean?
Well, Michael said that you.
No, I said you were gonna play.
He said, Michael called you our savior, so I figured you'd know that. And I said,
No, I said, dude, you play the drums. Don't need this.
it was a bit rough, but I thought he sounded fine.
Oh no, Billy is he's a character. He's a sort of a San Francisco preacher.
I knew
wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Trying to figure out who I am, or who I'm supposed to be. Feel good about where I stand, so I can make the most of me. I'm coming back down from space, a million miles away. There's a lot of love in this place, and I'm just trying to say I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Been a long time living this way, worrying about what people say. Feeling like I don't fit in, but I won't give up, no I won't give in. Been looking for something more. What you really looking for? It's been with you since you were born. Since you were born, you're good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. You only live once. I'm good with myself. I'm there for my friends until the very end. You only live once. I'm good with myself. I'm there for my friends until the very end. I want to see another love revolution. Find a way to be a better person. If we come together like we should, we could all be good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Living life just like I should. Wouldn't change it if I could. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
Good morning. It is a good morning, and we are good. We are going to have a good and connecting time this morning, because today and every day we have swung wide the doors to the presence of God, knowing that Spirit is in this place and in all places and all people. And just as the sun awakens us every morning to a new day, the Spirit of God within awakens us to divine glory. And this glory within and all around us is everywhere we look and in every situation we encounter. With our hearts centered in Spirit, we can quiet our thoughts and meditate on the wonder of all of God's creation and our oneness with it. Any cares of the day, because your sole purpose, and that's your S-O-L-E purpose and your S-O-U-L purpose, is to experience the divine in this moment. And you begin to do so now as you relax into the sacred time and space at Unity Spiritual Center. Seeing through eyes of oneness, acknowledging our oneness, we at Unity Spiritual Center celebrate and honor people of every culture, of every creed, of every religion, of every race, of every age, and every lifestyle, knowing that there are many paths to God, many faces of God, many names for God, but only one God. And that God is expressing through all people in unique, special, and individual ways. As you look at the flame of the candle that we light every Sunday, remember that you too have a divine flame within, that you are a spark of God. You are an individualized expression of God. And we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. We honor the one presence and power of God with Unity's foundation statement, which you'll find on the screen behind me, and I invite you to join with me in saying it aloud together. There is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as my life, God the good, omnipotent. We give thanks for our spiritual community and for the beauty of our spiritual center. We give thanks that Unity Spiritual Center is a welcoming, warm, and inclusive community dedicated to studying and putting into practice empowering principles and tools for happiness, health, prosperity, and successful living. We give thanks that with our spiritual teachings, we can create extraordinary lives and a peaceful planet through our relationship with the loving God presence within each one of us and through our relationships with one another. Our vision and the opportunity for each one of us here is that you discover the power within you to create the life of your dreams, that you have peace of mind and deep happiness, that you enjoy joyous and loving relationships with yourself, with spirit, and with others, that you spend your days doing what you love and feel called to do, and most of all, that you know that your life matters, that you make a difference, and that the world is a better place because you're here. If you're visiting us for the first time, and I know that one or two of you are, we like to hand out gifts. One is a shell lei that has a tag on it that says, just as God has a design for every shell in the sea, God also has a design for your life. We also hand out information, a packet that has material on Unity in general and Unity Spiritual Center in particular. And if you, whether you've been here for just one time or for many times, if you ever want to talk about Unity or anything else that's on your mind, please don't hesitate to call me for an appointment, and we can get to know each other better. So I would welcome conversations like that. We also have a very famous, becoming rapidly famous hospitality spread in the next room following the service, and you are invited to join us there where we all can get a chance to get to know you better. We pray that you will feel nourished by your time here today, and we are so glad to have you with us. So at this time, as we move into the meditative portion of our service and prepare to raise our voices together in song, please do turn off your cell phones or any other electronic devices if you haven't done that already. And I will turn it over to our music maestro, Michael Hatfield.
Thank you very much. We're going to get serene. You see, we can already see that looks like a familiar phrase for anybody that's been around Unity for any length of time, or anything else actually for that matter. So I think what we're going to do, Marcy, before I even start playing that melody, we're just going to recite it, okay? Just so we get it in our head what this is. Sometimes when you get up in the morning and it's foggy for the 24th day in a row, and you go, okay, summer in San Francisco, this too shall pass. I can change it because all you have to do is drive 5 miles, and you'll probably be finding the sun in some direction or another. So that's within your power, okay? That's something you can change, okay? But if you have to work someplace and you're stuck in this chair, you can't change that for that particular moment. So now we're going to just read it out loud, and then we're going to start singing it. And I wrote a little melody to go with it, which might help you. And it sounds like this. Here we go. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And we'll just talk about that wisdom. When you're working and you're stuck in a foggy day, don't try to change that and leave your desk or whatever you're doing, because your boss or whoever is paying you might not think that's a good idea. Though for you, it was probably the right thing to do at the moment. But wait, and then do it when it makes a good time to do that. Now, we're going to actually sing this song, and it sounds like this. I'll sing it a couple times. You can also hum it to yourself or whatever. It actually is a good little mantra, especially when you're looking out the window in the fog. So it sounds like this. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And now I'll just play for a second while you look at those lyrics. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. One more time. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that's it. Thank you.
And so as we continue to get comfortable in our seats and relax even more deeply into this time of worship, prayer, and meditation, let us open our hearts now to receive the message of the Daily Word. The Daily Word will be read today by Linda Park.
Everyone. Today's daily word is centered in truth. My spiritual potential is unlimited. The word potential is defined as the inherent capacity for coming into being. In this sense, I embrace the spiritual potential that defines my own being. Whatever limits may appear as this day unfolds, I remember that these are merely expressions of my human consciousness. Spirit is my only truth. Each day offers rich opportunities to deny power to ideas of limitation and remember the spiritual truth that Paul affirmed in his letter to the Philippians. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. I allow my spiritual potential to manifest through every challenge and experience. By unleashing my divine potential, I dissolve negative energies and become an expression of pure love and infinite possibility. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Unity Spiritual Center is a center of prayer and healing. We have a community prayer chest, which is placed on the table in the back, along with prayer request forms that are printed on green paper. And you are always invited to fill out a prayer request and place it in the box. For right now, not knowing what those prayers are, and also knowing that there are unwritten prayers in people's hearts, let's just take a moment to hold each of them, each person represented in that box and beyond in our hearts, and know that perfect divine love and divine order is taking place in each of their lives. The prayer requests that are placed in this box are prayed on by me and our USC prayer team for 30 days, and then we forward them to Silent Unity at Unity's World Headquarters, where they're prayed on for an additional 30 days. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have green prayer request forms in the back of the sanctuary, and you're always invited to fill one out. But we do have a time in our service where you can make your prayer requests audible. So this is the time to offer your prayer needs to your spiritual family here, so that we can stand with you and support you. So after we sing the introduction to this song, which Michael will lead us through, you're invited to speak your prayer aloud, and we will follow each prayer request by singing "Your Prayer is My Prayer Too."
We are connected by the heart. Where do you end? Where do I start? Whatever you feel, I feel too. You're a part of me, I'm a part of you. Your prayer is my prayer too. 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 Your prayer is my prayer too.
We also have a time in our service where we can share our blessings with each other, things that we are grateful for, our thanksgivings. This is the time to share those with your spiritual family.
I get to say one. I got the news today that I have a working vacation with my wife in Paris for 2 weeks. So I'll have to get a sub. I think we ought to sing right now. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
We give thanks for this opportunity to bless and to be blessed in spirit. We give thanks for the feelings of connection, of peace and warmth that fill our hearts and minds right now. We give thanks for the privilege of praying for others in our community, in our nation and around the world. And we affirm that always and in all ways, no matter what the appearances may be, divine order and divine love is everywhere present. At Unity Spiritual Center, your prayer is our prayer too. Amen.
Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everything must change. No one stays the same. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life that you can be sure of, except the rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and hummingbirds do fly. Winter turns to spring. A wounded heart will heal, but never much too soon. Yes, everything must change. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold. 'Cause that's the way of time. Nothing and no one goes unchanged. There are not many things in life that you can be sure of, except rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and butterflies do fly. Rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and music, sweet music, makes me cry. Rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and music makes me cry. Rain comes from the clouds, sun lights up the sky, and music makes me cry.
that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about change, but more specifically about transformation, because they're not necessarily the same thing, and we're going to talk about why that is. But first, I have a passage from Scripture for you, one you've heard many times before, but I want you to really try and take it in. It's from Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. You are the light of the world. Like, when you hear that, do you take it in? It's one of the reasons we light the candle every Sunday, is to help you have a visual for what that means. Because pretty much, unless you're very different from me, I don't wake up every morning thinking, you know what, I'm the light of the world. My mornings just don't start that way usually. But they should. And they should for you, because all of us are the light of the world. So you're going to see why I brought that up in a second. But as I said, this month we're looking at the word transformation, or more specifically transforming, because it's part of our mission statement. We've been looking at our mission statement all year, the words in it. And here at Unity Spiritual Center, we say we're about healing, inspiring, and transforming. So let's kind of unpack that and see what that means. If you look at the root of the word for transforming or transform, it comes from a word that means to change shape, to change form. So it's really about creating something very new, something that's never existed before. It's not just about changing the old, but it's about becoming something new. And as I said, change and transformation are not necessarily the same thing, because as the lyrics to that song said so beautifully, change is going to happen. Change happens whether we want it to or not. And the words in that song are so beautifully sung to remind us that we can't change change. Just change happens. And change doesn't necessarily bring transformation, which is kind of an interesting concept. But if you think about it, yeah, we can be changed by life, and we will be changed by life, but that doesn't always bring about a transformation. A transformation involves choice. We choose to be transformed. Transformation is a very intentional thing. We choose to be transformed. And usually we choose transformation when we are sick and tired of being sick and tired, or when we are sick and tired of being overweight, or when we are sick and tired of being broke, or when we are sick and tired of being lonely, right? Usually that's the point at which we decide we want something different. We want to be transformed. And there was another band that was recording in the 70s, the Eagles. They spoke to that in the lyrics to one of their songs. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains, and we never even know we have the key. And that's true for a lot of us, isn't it? And it has been always. Thoreau spoke to that when he said most men and women live lives of quiet desperation. We live our life in change, and we don't realize we have the key. So that's what we're going to be looking at. But it's important to remember that the key does not necessarily mean being something more, doing something more, efforting. It doesn't necessarily mean that, and sometimes we forget that in our self-help machinery. We think if only we, read the right book, get the right coach, do the right thing, then our lives will be transformed. And sometimes that's true. But it is not always true. It's not necessarily true. But what is true is what I started us off with. It's remembering that we are the light of the world, that we are, as we say every Sunday, that we are manifestations, expressions, individualized to us, of the divine. That is who we are. We have infinite possibilities, and at any time, we can transform our lives. And those of you who were here last Sunday heard me read a poem. It was written by Rumi, the Sufi poet, who used the same metaphor the Eagles did about 6 centuries earlier. And Rumi said, take an axe to the prison wall. Escape. Walk out like someone suddenly born into color. Do it now. We forget that, don't we? We think that all these different circumstances have to be different for us to transform, but actually it begins in the moment, and it can begin right now. As Rumi says, do it now. So I remember thinking about this at perhaps a relatively young age, I don't know, but I was in college and I had this very good friend named Abby, and Abby was, and is, I haven't seen her in many years, but this just wonderfully quirky but incredibly wise person. And I remember at the age of 21, she said, you know, what I think is, you know, we're not supposed to keep adding on. We're not supposed to keep doing more, trying to be more, trying to be better. She said, what I think transformation is all about is stripping all of that away. Like an onion. It's about unpeeling from us everything that is not the truth of who we are, so that we can just show up as that divine light. Now that's pretty precocious, don't you think? That a 21-year-old said that. I was like, yeah, I've never forgotten it. Because I totally believe she was right on about that. Because at our core, we're divine. And if we accept that at our core we are divine, then hopefully it is also true that we start thinking of ourselves as being a being of worth and dignity, right? If you're a divine being, then you're a being of worth and dignity. And it's hard to experience that. It's hard to really embrace that when we do things that scrape away or sully that experience. Which reminds me of a joke. The comedian Dave Barry tells this joke. My therapist told me the way to achieve personal transformation is to finish what I start. So far today, I have finished 2 bags of M&Ms and a chocolate cake. I feel better already. So, funny joke and great example that transforming is not necessarily about doing something different. It's not about doing something more or extra, but about experiencing ourselves as a being of worth and dignity. So I want to give you the opportunity right now just to think for a moment about what you've experienced this year so far, a personal transformation, or maybe you're in the middle of a transformation, but what have you experienced this year so far that's given you a sense of worth and dignity? Something that you really feel is the truth of who you are, a facet of that divine self. Anybody? Does anybody have anything to share? And if you don't, that's okay. Just keep thinking about what maybe has happened so far this year. You know, I've got one that I can share. and that is my painting. So as many, if not most of you know, I'm in a pretty intensive year-long painting class taught by Shiloh Sophia, who did the painting that's directly ahead of me on the wall above the prayer chest. She was also the teacher of Caitlin Gua, who did the paintings on the walls. And I want to tell you, like, painting was not something I've ever done before. I mean, I consider myself a very creative person, but painting, there was something about that just kind of scared me. There's something sort of intimidating about it. Like, I don't know, I'm not a painter. But I have to be a painter because I'm not going to finish the course unless I finish these 5 Mondo huge paintings. So I had an experience this week that was really interesting, and it spoke to what we're talking about. And, you know, I always sort of think along, you know, my days about the subject that I'm going to be addressing on a Sunday. And so I was thinking about this idea of transforming as I was working on this painting. And I want to tell you that early in the week, I hated what I did. Like, I hated it. I just thought my painting was a hot mess. I didn't know how to fix it. I looked at it and it's like, I don't know how to fix this. And I wanted to start over. I wanted to completely start over, just get a new canvas and try again. But because I'm under a deadline to get it finished, I didn't really want to start over. So I thought, is there any way I can work with what I've got? And I tried different things. I just tried different things. And I kept with it. And a couple things weren't successful, but I tried something else. And by yesterday, I was really happy with where my painting was. Still a work in progress, not done, but I'm really happy with where I am with her. It's a woman, as all of these subjects are. And I thought, isn't that interesting? And isn't that a perfect metaphor for personal transformation, right? We get to a place where we don't like what we see. We just don't like it. It's a hot mess and we don't know how to fix it. Anybody ever felt that way? Yeah. And what do we do? Now, you know, most of us can't go out and get new lives like a new canvas, so we have to keep going with what we've got. And we just keep trying different things. Maybe that's not quite right. Try something else, but we keep on keeping on. And sooner or later, we get to this place where we're kind of happy with where we are, right? So I think that's something to keep in mind, no matter where you are in the process. None of us are finished. My painting isn't finished. I'm not finished. None of us are finished. But there's always something new to try to make our expression the best that it can be. Now, as we think about this idea of transformation, I also want to invite you to think about what's not working. So, you know, we want to hold this in mind, that we're a divine flame. We want to hold in mind the idea that if we keep trying, we're going to end up where we want to be. But it is helpful sometimes to start with what's not working, because that's the point at which we can make a change. And interestingly, Michael, you're just like so right on today with your music choices, because the Serenity Prayer, right? How many people, and you don't have to raise your hands for this one, but how many of us have been in rooms holding 12-step meetings and heard that very prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, when we're at that point, let's look at what we can change. And I just want to leave you with a couple of reflection questions. And, you know, reflect on them throughout the week, maybe journal about them, but it will be fruitful, I think, as we explore transformation. So the first question is, what is in the way of your being your best self? What's in the way? Is it an addiction, a habit, a belief structure, as they say in 12-step groups, stinking thinking? You know, what gets in the way of you being your best self? And the second question, and it's really related, if not the same, is what is in the way of, or what distracts you from feeling your connection with God? So what is it that gets in the way of your experience of the higher power in your life? And again, is it an addiction, a habit, family belief structures, stinking thinking? What boulders do you, what prison walls do you put in the way between yourself and your higher power, feeling connected? Because that is where it begins. And transformation begins in our minds. Begins in our minds. And so if you're looking for ways to transform your thinking, you are in a fabulous place, because unity is all about that. Unity is all about teachings and tools for how you can use the power of your mind to transform yourself, to transform your life. That is what we're about. And it's a broad scope. Myrtle Fillmore said that divine thought can help us manifest wisdom, harmony, joy, health, perfection. So anything's fair game to use our tools. Napoleon Hill said that whatever the mind can conceive, it can achieve. But it starts in the mind. So just as I started with a scripture verse, I'm going to end with a scripture verse. And it's one that sometimes we need to remind ourselves of. And that is Romans 12:2, which is, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I wear this little bangle. You've maybe heard me talk about it before, that I got on Etsy for $10. It says, be transformed. Just as a reminder, it starts with the mind. So let us begin today to renew our minds. Let us begin today to stop living in chains and to suddenly walk out as if we are born into color. And let us realize that always, no matter what the situation is, we do have the key. And so it is. Amen. So, let us just take this in a little more deeply, and I'm going to invite Craig maybe to turn off the lights, to give you a chance to just sit with this idea of transformation. And I invite you to lean back in that chair seat and feel yourself being held. You are held no matter what's going on in your life. We are always held by the divine. So take a few slow, deep breaths. And if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. And let's begin this by remembering the truth of who we are, by remembering that we are the light of the world, by singing our meditation song, Holy, Holy, Holy. Starting with We Are Holy, moving to You Are Holy, and ending with I Am Holy.
We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy, holy, holy. You are holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy, holy, holy. I am holy.
So as we rest in our inner sanctuary, I invite you to embrace the following words as if they're your own. I'm going to read something that was titled by its author, The Transformation Prayer, the prayer for personal transformation. Dear God, it is fruitless to rail against the world. The world I inhabit is a reflection of my own self. For microcosm always mirrors. For macrocosm always mirrors microcosm. If I see it in the world, I know the seed exists in me. Therefore, to change the world, I now commit to my own transformation. I become the fertile soil for the world I want to see. As a beginning, I tell myself every day that I am changing. I tell myself that you are guiding, shaping, and loving me into wholeness. And instead of focusing on what is bad or frightening or telling myself things are getting worse, I affirm that bad things are falling away. I switch my focus to what positive contribution I can make to the situation, and the miraculous takes place. I stop blaming and instead take responsibility for the state of the world and the state of my life. I open myself to your love and experience the intensity of the unconditional. I never wish for others what I do not want for myself. I become generous and visualize lives of fulfillment and prosperity for others. I leave fear behind as you take me by the hand each day. And I forgive the unforgivable. As a result, all conflicts within me resolve, and with them, the discord in my life. All disapproval within me dissolves, and with it, the aches and pains in my body. I am a better person, one of whom Christ would be proud. Yet I do not practice denial of my anger or fear, but transcendence For you lift me up in accordance with my intentions and words. You make these words powerful, God, and only truth utters from my lips. That you and I are one, that to you every living thing is sacred, that as part of you I am able to let go of fear, that as part of you my destiny is to be happy and useful. I begin my transformation today, and with it, the automatic transformation of the world. Every day, I dedicate my thoughts, words, and deeds to higher truth. I ask you to create a sacred container for the day. I affirm that you guide me in doing soul work. I affirm that everything I think, do, and say is guided by a higher principle, the principle of light. And what I do, think, and say serves the greatest good. Thank you for working your miracles through me. Thank you for peace of mind, heart, and soul. The world and I are one with you, God of my heart, breath of my breath, throb in my veins. Your loving world is the real one, and my gratitude is profound. And so it is. Amen. So as you know again that you can always return to your inner sanctuary at any time you choose. Begin now to return to your this outer sanctuary, beginning by moving your fingers or your feet. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and returning to waking consciousness. Unity offers positive, practical, progressive spiritual teachings and tools that honor the universal truth in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. And here at Unity Spiritual Center, we have an inspiring vision, an exciting mission, and compelling values by which we strive to live. They're on the screen behind me, and I invite you to join with me in saying them aloud. Our vision is centered in God. We co-create a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Our mission is we are a creative, joy-filled spiritual community dedicated to healing, inspiring, and transforming the lives of all people through prayer, education, and love. And our values are, we are spirit-led, generous with resources, inclusive, joyously creative, and guided by integrity. And in this space, feeling inspired by our mission, values, and vision, feeling enriched by what we've experienced here today and what we're about to experience in the Fillmore room next door, let us take time now to be a channel for enrichment through our generous tithes and love offerings. Practicing the principle of tithing ourselves as a spiritual community, we are pleased to tithe 10% of the offering collected today to Unity Worldwide Ministries and to the San Francisco Food Bank. So let's take a moment now to bless our tithes and love offerings, holding them in our hands or perhaps next to our hearts as we say our offertory prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Oh, there's a change in the weather, there's a change in the sea. So from now on, there'll be a change in me. My walk will be different by talking my name. Nothing about me's gonna be the same. I'm gonna change my way of living, and if that ain't enough, then I'll change the way that I strut my stuff. Cause nobody wants you when you act old and gray. So there'll be some changes made today. There'll be some changes made. Uh-oh. Change in the weather, there's a change in the sea. So from now on, there'll be a change in me. What will be different? I'm talking my name. Nothing about me's gonna be the same. I'm gonna change my way of living, and if that ain't enough, I'll change that way that I strut my stuff. Cause nobody wants you when you act old and gray. So there'll be some changes made today. There'll be some changes made today. There'll be some changes made. I'm going to transform starting right now. Add a little blue, add a little green, and I'm done. Who wants to act old and gray? Yes.
With a visual aid. So our summer book sale is continuing. See those babies go off to good homes. So we have slashed the prices, and now our hot thank you to Kathy Russell, who's nodding her head. Now let's do that. Let's slash our prices. So we have, and every book is only $1, and you're going to find brand new books in the stacks. We've added more inventory. All books $1. You can leave your
child. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the presence of God in you, empowering you to do great things.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of